This film takes place in a specific time, in a specific place, and a time that none of us were born in. Yeah. So, in doing your research, and from each of you, I'd like to know this, in doing your research and figuring out who your character was and everything, and that time period, and finding out about that time period, what is the most surprising thing that you found that you have taken with you now that you didn't know going in?
What a switchboard is and how to operate one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just because I had an idea, but when I read the script, I still had to look it up and be like, what the hell does this even look like? Like, what the hell is a switchboard? Like, and then it became very clear to me that once I got there to shoot, I would definitely need to spend some time with the machine, respect it, learn its ways, so that I could accurately portray someone that knows their way around it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. The most like influential stuff for me was just this YouTube footage of old rock and roll DJs, like or they're young at the time, but like
Wolfgang and stuff.
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, and all over the country, like there are just these young guys, and they're like, plying their trade, and they're really creating characters. Like Everett calls himself the Maverick, and that's like in no way far off from what these guys did. Like they really had personalities and. That people tuned into. They were characters. Yeah.
I mean, I liked the opportunity to kind of look back on my childhood and see that we all like to make predictions about the future, especially in technology. My dad, we grew up on all of the magazines that talk about what's to come.
Right. So
I like that trip back memory lane, but. I guess the biggest thing I learned was probably that Roswell, New Mexico, not that we're in Roswell, New Mexico, but that was a reference. That Roswell, New Mexico, at the time of the events that we now know or that we all speculate on, they weren't really a thing. Like everybody that lived in Roswell, New Mexico was like, oh, that guy's crazy. Right. If they even heard of it. And then it was just washed away. Yeah. So we see history through the lens of time. And oftentimes, the people that are living it, they're not witnessing the truth of that moment in the way that we will 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later.
Yeah.
So you guys had a uniqueness. You had to get into character with the mindset that you're in the 1950s. So for your process, did you guys start with the exoskeleton of who your character was going to be on the outside and work inward, or did you guys go inward and work out? Just trying to get the characters.
Excellent actor question.
Yeah. I could just say for me, a lot of it started with the voice, like that his kind of accent, like the swagger about how he would approach speaking. I think that that's in the dialogue. So much of that is written. Like you have a person who says "raz my berries" and like he means it, like he's not saying it. Like there's
not a gimmick.
Like that's already like you really know a lot about the guy. But like that was
not even your best quote in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Cut the gas cube.
Cut the gas cube. Yeah. But yeah, I think his talk, just kind of like mulling over his words and the way he talk to myself all the time through the whole summer before this. I think that was so. In a way, I guess that's kind of inside out, and then the kind of footage and the research came on top of that. I think that.
This is Faye Crocker.
Who's not recording that for?
No, I know. It's just I've never held a microphone before. I'm practicing.
Well, I did not tell you to practice. Tell you to shut up.
I'm not shutting up. It's my recorder.
Oh, look out. That was good. That's how you got to be when we're recording. That was Queen of Cayuga. You 500-watt Faye.
That's kind of how that went, yeah.
I would say I also started inwards just because I focused mostly on Faye's interests and her hobbies and also her most broad qualities, which would be optimism, excitement, voracious curiosity, hyper-intelligence, but also a little bit of a naiveness, a very sweetness about her, and also at the beginning of the film a sort of insecurity and a little bit of a shyness and a hesitance to assert herself, which changes by the end of the movie. But I really started just delving into her interests, which were... What I love about her most is that she has all these kind of unconventional for the time, very nerdy interests, and she doesn't seek any way to hide those parts of herself. She's very excited about it, and she doesn't care if it's kind of weird or kind of lame or not the most popular. I don't know. She doesn't even. It doesn't even occur to her to sort of keep it, hush hush that she's like so into science or so excited about this new idea for little telephones that have a little screen on the back and you can see your person that you're calling. So I really, I know, right? Nuts. Who would have thought? But I really focused first on her interests and her hobbies, just because I think it's very indicative of who she is as a whole and how she reacts to the events of the movie, because she's got this hyper curiosity, this hyper optimism, this extreme just intelligence, but also, like I said, this hesitance, this sort of softness, if you will.
Did you like that she was kind of forward thinking in that respect? That Andrew kind of molded her toward a more modern woman?
Absolutely, and that's what attracted me initially to the role in the first place, is because even though this is a period piece, she is a very modern character, I thought. And, a lot of people have been asking about, acclimating to the period and stuff like that. And there was aspects of that, especially in the preparation. However, I thought she's more modern than many other scripts and characters that I've read that take place now, because a lot of, especially as a young female actress who plays mostly teen, plays younger, a lot of the roles that I see all the time aren't nearly as interesting or multifaceted or, woman positive as I think Faye is, because, a lot of times you're pining after a dude, or you're sad because, your girlfriend, you got in a fight with your best friend or something, which I'm not downplaying those occurrences, but they're always just sort of flat, and they don't have many ambitions or properties or characteristics that go beyond those things.
This is one of the things that I was most attracted to in the script, is that my on a personal level, my grandmother was married, they had a kid, and then the guy left. And left her as a single mom in the 50s, and that meant judgment. That meant ostracization. But my grandmother was always a person like Faye, who spoke her mind. She worked on microchips. She was always kind of involved in the future, even in the small way that she was. And she never let somebody tell her what to think. She always paved the way for her own thinking.
Very much like Faye.
Very much like Faye. And I think I love that Andrew was trying to show the fact that 1950s is modern, but this is not a new phenomenon. We have strong women that predate America, that predate our little short glimpse at
but
what.
Not enough films about them.
But not enough stories to tell. No, there's tons of stories to tell, but not enough people telling those stories. I like that this, pretty masculine man from Oklahoma is trying to feature a character that is a real woman to me. I mean, there's all kinds of women, but this is a real woman. This is not a rare occurrence, and it represented a very personal person in my life. And I thought, but we wish, and I know all women wish this, but I think anybody that cares about good stories wishes that we got to see the spectrum of people that are in our families and are in our lives.
Absolutely. And scientifically interested and technologically gifted women have always existed. They're just, no one's illustrating their story. No one's illustrating, their existence. And so that's what really, really struck me, is that I don't get to see characters like this represented. And
it's just who she is.
It's just who she is. It's not even this gimmick, or it's not like this thing that's kind of laughed at in the film, or it's like kind of poking fun at it. It's taken very seriously. That's just how she is. So.
That being said, if you see your character running a lot in the script, are you going to be second guessing that?
This movie is
no one has talked about this, and I appreciate it. Thank you. I didn't even think about it when I read the script, and then we started shooting, and I'd look at the breakdown of all the scenes, and it's like Faye runs, Faye runs, Faye runs, Faye runs, and I'm not an athlete.
You had like swimmer calves by the end of it.
No, I got back to LA, and everyone was like, "Did you start CrossFit?" And I was like, "No."
The best of night was Sierra's personal trainer.
Yeah, I got jacked. I was ripped at the end of this, because I was just running over and over. And Andrew's a little, He's a little mischievous little shit sometimes, because he would just let me run and not call cut even after they got their thing.
Oh,
He just
yeah.
let me-
Right, let you go.
He just let me go, and I wasn't gonna stop.
And to be fair, though, Andrew is like tireless. I mean, the guy
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah.
He never runs out of energy.
Whatever I did, it's not like he didn't match it, obviously,
Yeah.
and then some. However,
And him and Marcus.
Marcus probably.
I mean,
broke
Marcus
his back.
ran a steady cam,
Yeah.
and then also just held a camera freehand. And, I mean, this guy literally is like a feat of the imagination. He should be an Olympic athlete.
Yeah, we thought we were
Was
gonna
he
have
on
to.
the go-kart or was the go-kart the rig?
He was
He's
on the go-kart.
go-kart.
His knees after the go-kart shot
Oh,
are
I bet.
like
God.
brute. Like
Yeah.
I
they're
couldn't
like.
believe how fast that was going.
But-
It
but
was-
he-
yeah, he was
Back
in there.
must have
He was
been-
like.
But then also in the woods, let's just keep that ambiguous. In the woods, he is running
Yeah.
alongside of her
Yeah.
with a
Yeah,
giant
as-
camera
yeah,
rig.
As much as I had to run, he had to run and follow me with a camera.
Sure.
Yeah.
We thought we were gonna have to be like wheeling him out at this premiere and be like, "This is
Seriously.
Marcus." He was
Somehow he made it.
And he was so rugged too. He had this long hair, this chiseled, cheekbones.
Adam,
and-
were you a little smitten?
yeah, he was just like running. When you're watching this man, just like
Calling his wife. Gotta get down here.
it's like the bionic man,
Yeah.
$6 million man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No tracksuit, but.
I was actually the entire time saying, Andrew, your original vision is the vision.
Nice.
There is no one out there that's going to validate us or validate you that will make making a different choice a better choice. Even though you're making some challenging choices and you're asking the audience to participate in ways they've never participated, that is what your job is. And thank God you and other people as daring as you are making those choices. This is how we push the boundaries forward. And I think audiences now, especially in the last few years, millennials, but everybody, I think, is more interested in seeing daring choices. We have a lot of movies that are big blockbuster movies, both from a dramatic side and an action side. And these kind of movies that we're making are the opportunity to take people places that maybe you can't do when you got $100 million in a movie,
Or Vision.
But yeah, exactly. So I actually was encouraging him to stick with the original choices, and at times we kind of went a little bit different direction. But I was trying to be supportive of the fact that a director, that's what makes a director great, is that they have their vision, and there was never a moment, we talked about this in another interview, but there's never a moment where I don't think anybody on the team didn't believe in this movie, which is one of the
I
rare.
don't think anyone doubted it.
Yeah.
There might have been question marks of like, are we going to achieve this?
Right.
But never the whole,
Yeah.
right? And the things that we doubted along the way about an individual thing, we were always miraculously surprised and joyful that it happened.
Yeah.
So not to go on.
What do you guys love about indie film?
I find that a lot of indie filmmakers, they don't have this sort of big sort of interference telling them one way or another which way to go, and our film's a great example of that, I think, because you make a lot of bold, daring choices, or Andrew does. But I don't know, I feel like I've worked on big studio films and I've worked on a lot of indie films, and I think that what I like the most is that everyone seems really down and happy to be there. And everyone wants to bust their ass, regardless. I mean, I think films pass through so many hands, it's kind of conceited to think you're the most important person, but on bigger stuff that I've worked on, there's a lot of that. And I think it's foolish, it's dumb, because I don't know how you can look at this art form and see all these credits rolling afterwards and think that you're the most important part. Everyone touches it in a way. So I think that working on indie film, everyone kind of understands that, at least. And they kind of are down to collaborate and are down to work.
Yeah. I think it's happened twice now at Slamdance, where I've seen the movie and then I've talked to the director for a second afterwards, and it feels like theirs.
Yeah.
It feels like their movie, and they're connected. And oftentimes directors of bigger things. You talk to meet them, and it's harder actually to see the work in the person. But like
Kind of removed from
in
it.
any
It's
film,
the
it's like
third
the
person
voices are authentic, and people are braver and bolder and more honest, and it shows. I think. Yeah.
I mean, my biggest thing, and somebody asked, well, how do you choose a movie or to participate in a movie? I think my biggest thing about indie films, but I think film in general, and I think studios are going back to this, is I want an authentic voice.
Yeah.
And in indie films, you often get that, and I think you're getting it more and more in studio films now. Just in the last short while, we want to feel what you feel. We want to know your perspective, and there's so many great perspectives out there. Yeah. There's men, there's women, there's trans, there's black, there's white, there's Asian. There's all these different ways that we're seeing the world, and that's what we want. That's why we go to the movies. I want to see the world in a different light, and I want to see myself through that light. And definitely felt that with The Vast of Night.